While recently hooking through the hard drive, I came across this footage. Now this is from way back when I started filming, and it should have been a really good day, but unfortunately it turned out to be an absolute disaster, and I was that disgusted with it I've locked it away in the hard drive until now. Now some of you may recognise where I'm setting up here from one of my DVDs. I think it was Corvid KS2, where the idea was to show you how you could use old abandoned buildings around a farmyard as a hide to decoy hooded crows and magpies. And that day went pretty well, unlike this day, the footage you're watching now, where I had a bad day. Now, looking back on this, I can see where I've made changes, improvements, I've learned from it, and hopefully you might be able to learn from my mistakes as well. But I suppose there's no point asking you to go easy on me in the comments and not to be so judgmental, because this is YouTube after all. Okay, back to the morning in hand. The idea was to decoy or bait hooded crows and magpies, using an old farm building as a hide, shooting through a broken window that was overgrown with briars and nettles. The bait was a rabbit. I have a dead magpie to use as a decoy. I'm using my BSA Superten. It's in 2.2, roughly about 15 foot-pounds of energy. The scope was an old Tasco Bighorn, 4.5 to 18 by 50, and I think the pellets were Crosman Premiers. Good. Glad to get the details out of the way. So, I've only managed to get myself back into the shed. I'm still getting set up, getting the rifle loaded. I did manage to get the camera on, and already this hooded crow has come down. Now he's been down twice, and you don't usually get them down as quick as that. So the third time he lands, I've got everything set up, I'm ready for the shot. Now, one thing I've changed that I've noticed after watching this footage is that I used to take nothing but headshots, as I've seen too many birds fly off after heart and lung shots. Nowadays, I rarely take a headshot and prefer a heart and lung shot with a higher powered air rifle, mainly because I can get a heart and lung shot off quicker than lining up a headshot, and two, I think I understand the kill zones for heart and lung shots better nowadays than I did back then. But in the same circumstance here with a hooded crow and using a lower powered air rifle, I think I'd still prefer to take the headshot. The downside is, it's a lot easier to miss with a headshot. But thankfully, it's not too long before a second hooded crow lands. This time I make a nice clean headshot at about 25 to 30 yards, so I must be doing something right. The bird was lying on its back, so I braved the wet boggy ground, walked out and lifted it in case the sight of it put off any other birds from landing. And this seemed to work, as before long another hooded crow approached the bait. To say that patience was my biggest asset would be a bit of an understatement, but it took many years to learn to be patient, not only waiting for the bird to actually arrive, but also waiting for the right moment to squeeze the shot off when its head was still. Nowadays, with my high-powered pre-charged air rifles like the Open MFR and my new FX Crown running at over 30 foot-pounds, I would have taken the heart shot long ago. You don't need to see my face to realise how frustrated I am this morning, as that's the second bird I've missed. Sending a pellet so close to its head, I'm just cutting feathers and nothing else. Now, there's obviously a breeze blowing now and again this morning, as you can see the grass moving now and again, but since I'm sitting in a concrete house, I can't really feel anything, so it's hard to judge how much I need to allow for it. Now, with the higher powered 30 plus foot-pound air rifles, at 30 yards this wouldn't really be a problem, as it would hardly affect them, but since my BSA is running at about 15 foot-pounds, it seems to be blowing the pellet half to 3/4 an inch off at times, but since the wind's ebbing and blowing, it's not consistent, so this is what's really frustrating me. And this brings us to another change I've made since filming this. Now I would put a stick into the ground at about 30 yards. Now this gives me something to shoot at, so I can see how much the wind's blowing my pellet off and how much to aim off. And I've even been known in the past to tie a piece of cotton wool to the stick to give me an indication of wind direction and strength. Which would have been really handy on this morning and probably saved me a lot of heartache. But as you'll see with some of these shots on the magpies, I was experimenting with different amounts of hold off for the wind, and some of the shots weren't coming anywhere near the birds at all. I don't think that shot was within a bagel's gowl of the bird. I was missing that much. I was starting to doubt myself. I was doubting the rifle. Was something knocked out of zero? Was something broke? The only thing that was really going for me was the birds kept coming back right and quick, but then that was frustrating me even more because I kept missing them every time. But then I finally landed a shot square in the head, knocking the bird over. Then, with my confidence renewed, I went for a second bird, using the same amount of hold off for the wind as I did with the first one. Then, thinking I had everything sussed, I went for a third shot. The bird cartwheeled about a little before finally settling down, but that's normal with headshots. But then, to my amazement, its head popped bolt upright and alert out of the grass and flew off. The pellet must have only grazed the outside of the bird's skull, knocking it senseless for a few moments, something I've only really seen a couple of times in my life. I thought with the two solid hits that I had got, I knew how much to allow for the wind, but the strength of the breeze must have changed again, because when I had this last opportunity, yep, I missed again. And to add insult to injury, I was that disgusted with everything, I decided to discharge the air rifle into the ground and quit, just as this hooded crow landed, scaring it off. So, understandably, I didn't take a photograph of what I shot that day. So here's a photograph from another day that went a lot better. I'm using the same rifle, although it is a different coloured stock and scope, but I used what I learnt back then to good effect.